All right, y'all, so we back to check out some of the most recent discoveries that have taken place in Egypt. Man, one of the places that I must visit in this lifetime is definitely on my bucket list, man. So if you've been, experienced it, embraced the culture, man, drop some of the information in the comment section for me, man. I mean, flight, even though y'all know I don't like planes, but I'm gonna have to get on one. Flight, where'd you stay, where'd you go, all the tourist information you can give to me, put it in the comment section, all right? And we're gonna check out this, what scientists found in a forbidden tomb in Egypt that shocked the world, all right? So if you're new, you know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, join the fam, hit that like button for more content. Let's check this out.
There are a lot of things to say about ancient Egypt. It was a civilization surrounded by myths and legends. They are among the most powerful empires that rose in the history of mankind, and they remain one of the most fascinating people in history. There is much more to Egypt than the pyramids in Giza. In this video, we'll take a look at the most amazing finds in Egypt that puzzle archaeologists to this day. From a dream discovery to a mysterious pregnant mummy, here are the 15 strangest things discovered in Egypt. Number 15. Dream discovery. In 2022, archaeologists working on a site in Cairo, Egypt were elated after making a dream discovery. Beneath the shifting sands of the city-state was an impressive Egyptian sarcophagus laying undisturbed within a burial chamber. It was untouched for many years, and only recently did anyone have the chance of getting a glimpse of the impressive sarcophagus. The stone sarcophagus was massive, and it was covered in inscriptions dedicated to Ptah Mweya, a man who headed the treasury of one of Egypt's greatest rulers, King Ramses II. Reaching the sarcophagus was a harrowing task. In order to reach the bottom of the burial chamber, archaeologists needed to remove a lot of sand using a bucket attached to a hand-operated rope winch. Heavy machinery wasn't an option as it might damage the valuable sarcophagus inside. But after meticulously clearing out the debris, the team of experts were rewarded with a magnificently well-preserved sarcophagus.
Who says archaeologists' jobs aren't dangerous? Bro, they gotta get in confined spaces with threats of collapse at any given moment.
Although Ptah Mweya wasn't a pharaoh, he played an important role during the reign of King Ramses II. Not only was he the person in charge of the royal treasury, but he was also a scribe, a supervisor of cattle, and was in charge of the sacrifices to the deities at the king's temple in Thebes. Unfortunately, while the sarcophagus was mostly intact, archaeologists believe that the burial chamber was looted during the 19th century. This explains why there were no precious artifacts inside the chamber, despite Ptah Mweya being a reputable figure in ancient Egypt. Much about this popular scribe is unknown to us to this day, but with how prominent he is, we might learn more about his life and duties in the days to come. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now. Number 14. New details of mummification. In 2002, archaeologists in Egypt discovered a cache of mummification materials in tombs located near the Pyramid of Djoser, named for the first king of the 3rd dynasty of the Old Kingdom. The massive collection of funerary pots were buried in a 45-foot deep shaft. It was the largest collection discovered as of yet, with more than 350 large ceramic pots and smaller artifacts. Among them were vessels used to store organs removed from the mummies at the site. It's no wonder that each burial was filled with many artifacts. After all, the ancient Egyptians believed that mummification helped the deceased reach the afterlife. Egyptians believed that the only way for the soul to journey into the afterlife is if the body remains recognizable. They spent years refining the process of mummification, adding new oils and essences to make it better. Archaeologists discovered resins, oils, and myrrh used for embalming, and it became more evident as to why the pharaohs are prepared for mummification.
Does it feel like to y'all that they cared more about their people back then than we do today? Just based off of their rituals in death. You know what I mean? These days, fam, you die, they have you in the ground like 2 days later almost. But it looked like they really prepared them to send them off correctly. You know what I'm saying? I just get that vibe.
Several canopic jars were needed to store the mummified person's internal organs. For the royals, their chamber would also be where their treasures and artifacts would be stored. Number 13. Mysterious Space Rock. This mysterious stone was discovered in 1996 in the Great Sand Sea in southwest Egypt. This is known as Hypatia, named after a female Egyptian astronomer. Although it looks like an ordinary stone, recent analysis revealed that the 3-gram sample is unlike anything in our solar system. In fact, it was unlike anything in the entire Milky Way galaxy. Researchers claim that Hypatia could be the first evidence of a supernova-type explosion on our planet. But what makes this type of supernova special? This type of explosion is incredibly rare and is one of the brightest events in the entire universe. Supernovas are considered to be one of the original sources of elements heavier than iron in the entire universe. Essentially, even the iron flowing in your blood came from a supernova or another type of cosmic explosion that occurred long before the solar system formed. This means that supernovae are essential to life. Supernovae expel space clouds of dust, gas, and further interstellar diversity. Without this cosmic phenomena, our universe would have been much different. Number 12. Crocodile Heads. Recently, archaeologists discovered 9 crocodile heads buried in the Necropolis in Thebes, an ancient burial site in Upper Egypt. The remains of the animals were kept inside 2 tombs named after high-ranking officials who lived during Egypt's New Kingdom between the 16th century BCE and the 11th century BCE. It was considered a one-of-a-kind discovery, as there were no other crocodile remains discovered in human burials before. Usually, mummies of whole crocodiles were prepared, mummified, and stored in the catacombs of sacred animals. In ancient Egypt, these reptiles were linked to the god Sobek. He was the being who created the Nile River, and he's also known as the god of fertility, chaos, and military might. But this time, only the head of the crocodile was laid with the deceased instead of the animal's entire body. What's more, it lacked any form of preservation. It seemed like the crocodile heads were simply laid inside the burial chamber, and no other preparation was done. According to archaeologists, more research is needed to unravel the mystery of the crocodile heads. Number 11. King Tutankhamun's Space Dagger. There are a lot of questions surrounding King Tutankhamun's tomb. Most people want to know about the curse of the pharaohs, but there is a more pressing matter regarding King Tut. It was the dagger discovered inside his burial chamber. The black iron dagger was covered with linen wrappings and placed beside Tutankhamun. Its placement inside the burial indicated that it was one of the pharaoh's most prized possessions. But what's so mysterious about a dagger? Smelted iron was almost unheard of in ancient Egypt 3,300 years ago. And yet, the dagger of King Tutankhamun was in top condition when it was unearthed. It was well crafted and free of rust. For this reason, theories about the dagger's origin began circulating. Several people believed that the young pharaoh's dagger was extraterrestrial in origin. By that, we don't mean aliens gave it to the pharaoh. It simply means that the iron dagger might have been made out of a meteorite. For decades, the blade's origin was highly debated, but a recent discovery confirmed that the blade's material came from outer space. The blade's material is a mix of nickel, iron, and cobalt, matching the meteorites found in northeastern Africa. What's astonishing, though, is that the Egyptians knew exactly what the meteorite was. The fact that only a small number of jewelry and artifacts were created out of the meteorite indicates that the ancient Egyptians knew that the rocks came from the heavens.
That's why all this research is important, especially for us who look into a lot of, paranormal or maybe unidentified things, or we're looking for life on other planets or stuff like that. It's important for us to look back to the past, especially if we're seeing evidence that they have of maybe some type of contact or knowledge of a presence other than ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like an alien presence. We gotta continue to look because they may have the answers.
This theory opens up yet another mystery. Did the ancient Egyptians understand the heavens more than we thought? Perhaps their eerily accurate understanding of astronomy enabled them to construct the unique features of the pyramids. Unfortunately, more research must be done to confirm these claims. Number 10. Dog Necropolis. In January 2023, archaeologists announced an amazing discovery. While excavating a site near Cairo, they came across the ancient remains of an 8-year-old child, and around the young one were 142 bodies of dogs. The remains mostly belong to puppies, and archaeologists have no idea why the ancient Egyptians did the strange burial. What's more strange is that someone placed a linen bag around the child's head. Archaeologists theorize that the burial might be part of an ancient ritual. Traces of blue clay were found on the dog's remains, a material commonly found in ancient Egypt reservoirs. The puppies might have been victims of a catastrophic flood, as there were no signs of violence on the dogs. It's good that they weren't sacrificed, but it was still disheartening to imagine that the poor animals died by drowning. The ancient Egyptians might have gathered the remains of the dogs and buried them together before conducting a magic ritual. However, the role of the child remains unclear. There is a chance that the young child was taking care of the animals and died along with them, but the linen bag placed around the child's head keeps archaeologists scratching their heads in confusion. Archaeologists have only discovered one other set of remains with a linen bag around its head. It belonged to a man with an arrow in his chest. The treatment seemed like it was reserved for people who were executed, but this time around, the child seemed to have done nothing to warrant the treatment. Number 9. Flatfaced dinosaur fossil. In 2022, archaeologists discovered the vertebra bone of a new and unnamed dinosaur species which belonged to the abelosaurid family. Paleontologists claimed that this new dino species was a reptile that walked on 2 legs. Just like Tyrannosaurus rex, it had 2 very short arms and small teeth. It was also a carnivore that grew to around 20 feet long. It lived around 98 million years ago during the Cretaceous period, the final period of the age of the dinosaurs. This discovery gave us a better glimpse of the biodiversity of Cretaceous dinosaurs in Egypt and the larger northern African region millions of years ago. Number 8. Burial of Queen Nefertiti. Queen Nefertiti was an influential queen who reigned alongside her husband during the most contentious yet wealthy periods of ancient Egypt. But despite being one of the most renowned figures, much about Nefertiti is unknown. Her parentage and lineage still isn't clear. There are sources who claim that she was a princess from Mitanni, or modern-day Syria, but there is also evidence of her being a daughter of an Egyptian official. For so long, researchers have been trying to discover the queen's remains. And recently, an archaeologist claimed that the mummy he is studying will turn out to be Queen Nefertiti. Unfortunately, the process is incredibly lengthy, and to this day we have yet to identify her remains. But it seems like archaeologists are quite convinced that they will be able to reveal Queen Nefertiti's mummy in the next few months. Number 7.
Wow.
Strange feline mummy. One of the most well-known things about the ancient Egyptians is how much they worshipped and revered felines. The people of the time held cats in the highest esteem, and their law prohibited harm to these creatures. Countless statues and artifacts were created after these creatures, and among them is the famous Sphinx of Giza. It's a limestone statue with a lion's body and a human's head. This massive statue continues to protect the pharaoh Khufu in his colossal pyramid right behind the Sphinx. In ancient Egypt, the Sphinx was a spiritual guardian and an important image in Egyptian and Greek legends. The Sphinx has existed in Egyptian mythology since at least 2500 BCE, and perhaps even older. However, the Greeks and the Egyptians saw these entities differently. While the ancient Egyptians considered the Sphinx a protector, the Greeks saw it as a gatekeeper sent by the gods. If you're familiar with the riddle of the Sphinx, it's most likely that you've read it in Greek mythology. A recent discovery proved that the ancient Egyptians revered the Sphinx more than we thought. Archaeologists discovered a strange feline animal that looked like it could either be a lion or a lioness. It was very strange, and the exact identity of the animal is yet to be revealed. But for now, archaeologists began calling it a real-life Sphinx. Number 6. Hundreds of mummies in the city. A massive collection of ancient Egyptian mummies were recently discovered in the City of the Dead, the Saqqara archaeological site south of Cairo. It was an incredible mystery, and valuable information could be obtained from the bronze statues and artifacts. But many people believe that the entire treasure trove is cursed. According to archaeologists, each time they discover a huge cache of mummies, the discovery always sparks fear. It all began with the discovery of King Tutankhamun's curse, but it's still perpetuated. Many believe that anyone who dares to open and disturb an Egyptian mummy will be cursed. Some think—
Yeah, put me on the team that finds them and discovers them, but definitely not on the team that opens them. I've heard way too many stories. Remember that story about the group of men who opened it up and they all started dying off? Like, could it be a coincidence? Maybe, but I still couldn't get that out of the back of my mind. So yeah, I would like to discover them, but open them, wait till I leave. Matter of fact, wait till I get clear across the country, and then y'all open it.
I think it's true. While others believe that deaths are merely coincidental, archaeologists have long dismissed this strange hex as little more than folklore. They claim that it was more like a story spread to prevent thieves from looting and damaging tombs. Number 5. 3,500-year-old Sacrificial Goose. In 2020, an ancient stone chest and a ceramic box was discovered at a burial site in Egypt. The stone dated back to 3,500 years ago, and inside was a sacrificial goose. Now, this isn't a well-known fact, but the root of the Easter egg tradition dates back to ancient Egypt. Egyptians, Phoenicians, and Hindus were among the first civilizations to decorate and exchange eggs with each other in spring. The gesture represents the new life that blossoms during the season. Archaeologists believe that the sacrificial goose egg was offered to a royal, and a new tomb might be discovered soon. After all, we don't know how much of Egypt remains buried in sand. And now it's time for today's topic. What scientists found in a forbidden tomb in Egypt shocked the whole world. It's 1922 in Egypt, and archaeologist Howard Carter and aristocrat Lord Carnarvon are exploring a tomb beneath the sands of Egypt. Neither of them anticipated stumbling upon an undiscovered crypt with a sarcophagus that previously lay undisturbed inside. It was the same year King Tutankhamun's tomb was discovered, an archaeological feat that is still considered significant to this day. Carter and Lord Carnarvon were ecstatic about the discovery they made, and the entire world rejoiced with them. But some believed that when Tutankhamun's tomb was opened, a curse was unleashed to those connected with it. That's why several people who remember the curse of King Tut warned archaeologists about disturbing mummies that have laid undisturbed for thousands of years. After all, Lord Carnarvon died of blood poisoning shortly after being bitten by a mosquito in Egypt. Other experts also died after examining the young pharaoh's body. Perhaps that's why even scientists who follow logic and don't believe in spiritual and supernatural things such as curses were having second thoughts about examining the newly discovered mummy. It was allegedly found in an area in Egypt that was never excavated before. Do you think the curse of the pharaoh is real? Or are the deaths associated with discovering the royal mummies merely coincidences? As always, comment down below with the hashtag today's topic, and let us know your opinion about what we just showed on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 4. Ancient ramps in the pyramids. How the pyramids were constructed has long been a mystery, and the discovery of a 4,500-year-old ramp system made it more intriguing. In 2020, archaeologists discovered the remains of a ramp system in an ancient alabaster quarry at Hatnab, an excavation site in the eastern desert. According to experts, the system dates back to at least around the same time as the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, the ruler who ordered the construction of the Great Pyramid of Giza. The ancient Egyptians may have used the ramps to move alabaster, but the discovery doesn't mean these ramps were connected to the construction of the Great Pyramids. Alabaster is a softer material that is much different from the heavy stone blocks used for the outer structure of the pyramid. However, the ramp used to transport the alabaster easier and faster is a clue as to how far advanced the ancient Egyptians were. To this day, how the ancient Egyptians moved the materials used in the pyramid's construction remains a mystery. Number 3. Mysterious Baboon. In the annals of ancient Egypt is a magical, faraway land where intrepid adventurers could get gold, myrrh, and all sorts of riches. It was known as the Land of Punt, or the Land of God. This kingdom rivaled ancient Egypt's riches. And yet, it's quite strange that the Land of Punt's name doesn't appear in more records. All we know is that the ancient Egyptians first began traveling to the Land of Punt about 4,500 years ago. They continued to do so for over 1,000 years, or at least according to their hieroglyphic written records. The ancient Egyptians obtained resins, metals, hardwoods, as well as exotic animals from the kingdom. But there needs to be more evidence about these goods and where they came from. There are even theories that the Land of Punt might not be real in the first place. However, the discovery of a baboon skull changed everything. In the 19th century, archaeologists discovered the skull of a Hamadryas baboon in the ancient Egyptian city of Thebes. During their time, this species was considered the embodiment of Thoth, a god of wisdom. Despite its importance, the animal wasn't native to Egypt. In order to determine its place of origin, archaeologists studied chemical isotopes in the baboon's tooth enamel. and got clues to the animal's birthplace. Through this study, archaeologists found that it was born from across East Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. This suggests that the mythical land of Punt might be now...
Yeah, but how did they use the teeth to determine that, though? That's what I'm waiting to hear that part. That's crazy. I've never heard them use that.
And the Arabian Peninsula. This suggests that the mythical land of Punt might be now modern-day Eritrea, Ethiopia, or northwest Somalia. Number 2.
I'm gonna have to look that up.
Tooth solves decades-old mystery. Hotshepsut was among the most prominent rulers of Egypt. She was the daughter of Thutmose I and the wife of her half-brother Thutmose II. When her husband passed, she became co-regent with her young son, Thutmose III. It seemed that she was quite content with being a supportive figure, standing beside the powerful men in her family. But as her son approached the age where he could finally ascend the throne, she made a daring move. Hotshepsut herself declared that she would become the pharaoh. Although she was a woman, she adopted the emblems and titles associated with the ruler of Egypt. Instead of headwear and accessories used by females, she began dressing up as a man. She ordered for herself to be portrayed in pictures as a man, with a male body and false beard. But although she managed to change her image, she wasn't able to escape the limitations she had as a female ruler during her time. Unlike her father and her deceased husband, she couldn't lead the troops to war or battle, but she was smart and cunning. Hotshepsut ordered soldiers on a trading expedition to the land of Punt, a legendary kingdom filled with riches from gold to exotic animals. She became the ruler for 21 long years, and although her declaration of being a pharaoh was a radical move at the time, Egypt knew peace and prosperity under her guidance. When Thutmose III finally assumed the throne, it was only natural that his first desire was to erase his mother's legacy from historical records. Monuments of her were defaced, and the name Hotshepsut was removed from the list of kings. But there are no secrets that remain undiscovered forever. In 1822, brilliant archaeologists discovered her tomb, and after deciphering the engraved hieroglyphics, Hatshepsut's story was revealed. In 1902, British archaeologist Howard Carter, the same person who discovered the tomb of King Tutankhamun, stumbled upon the tomb of Hatshepsut in the Valley of Kings. It wasn't until 1920 that Carter discovered 2 sarcophagi that belonged to Hatshepsut and her father. But the strange thing was that both were empty. It turned out that Hatshepsut's body was inlaid in a different burial place. But thanks to a tooth discovered in her sarcophagus, experts were able to determine the mummy of Hatshepsut. It turned out that she was quite different from how she was portrayed. Hatshepsut's mummified remains tell experts that the ruler was an obese woman who died in her 50s. Analysis of her body revealed that she had diabetes and liver cancer, which probably led to her death. But regardless of her appearance when she was alive, there is no doubt that she was one of the greatest pharaohs of Egypt. Number 1.
She brought all of them peace.
The mysterious mummy. When the mummified remains of an unknown Egyptian woman was first discovered, archaeologists thought nothing about it. After all, it was just one of the many human remains that they were dealing with. However, the more they examined the mummy, the more they noticed how strange she was. The mysterious lady lived around the 1st century BC in the ancient Egyptian city Thebes, now known as Luxor. It wasn't until years after her discovery that scientists noticed that the mysterious lady wasn't alone when she died. The woman was carrying a child inside her womb, making her the world's first known pregnant mummy. Scientists claimed that as the mummification happened, the fetus inside the woman's body pickled like an egg. However, some weren't quite convinced of her pregnancy. Some experts believe that the mummy wasn't pregnant at all. Rather, the fossilized fetus might have been a warped embalming pack, something that the ancient Egyptians used to replace human organs in the mummification process. But before this debate could be settled, the research team at Warsaw Mummy Project announced yet another intriguing thing about the mysterious mummified lady. They found out that she had nasopharynx cancer. If this is true, the unknown mummy whose life was impossible to describe would be the very first pregnant mummy and one of the oldest pieces of evidence of cancer in the ancient world. Which one of these discoveries did you like the most? Make sure to let me know about it in the comments down below. If you know other cool facts about Egypt, be sure to share it in the comments as well.
I can't wait till they put out like a video that I'm able to react to about the curses and surrounding Egypt and the tombs and different things like that. Man, I want to really hear about that and dive deep into that. whole type topic and situation, man. I just want to know more about it, man, because once you hear it, you can't shake it. It's every time you see or look at someone discovering a tomb or something like that, like several times throughout this video, they showed you like them cracking open and the tombs and stuff. That's all I could think about coming out was a curse. So yeah. I wanna look a little more into that. So I'm gonna try to find some videos that they allow. You know what I mean? You don't see too many because of them cracking down on certain things they don't allow or like people to discuss on the platform. So that may be reason why, but I'm gonna look and see. So, but y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you thought of this video, bro. Extremely, like, very well put together video, I think. Dope. Very informative. All right. And stick around and stay tuned till next one I'm gone. Peace.